Hello people and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Deep Roy Chaudhary and I'm just a normal guy who talks about stuff that seems interesting and important to me. And today I'm going to talk about should we boycott Chinese apps and smartphones. I'm going to talk about this topic yet again. Uh, for all of those who might not be in the loop regarding the recent news, India and China, the tensions have risen between India and China because of certain tensions at the border that has led to the killings of 20 Indian soldiers, or to the death of 20 Indian soldiers and maybe death of 40 odd Chinese soldiers. Again, the Chinese deaths, the number of casualties on the Chinese side have not been confirmed by China, but the 20 Indian soldiers have been confirmed or have been found confirmed dead. It has been confirmed that 20 Indian soldiers have died in those border clashes on 15th of June. Since that day, it's been what? It's July of 2nd of July today. For the last 17 days, 15, 16, 17 days, the tensions have been pretty much high, and that has led to a ban on 59 apps, on 59 Chinese apps in India. The Indian government decided to ban 59 popular apps, like 59 Chinese apps, including apps which are pretty popular in India, like TikTok, like Weibo, WeChat, and others as well. UC browser, whatever, all the Chinese apps. So that has basically, that is basically the culmination of all the tensions that have been going on regarding China. And I mean, China doesn't have problems with just India. At the end of the day, China has problems with so many countries, and mostly democratic countries around the world. So I would say my assumption would be that China wants to rule the world. China wants to export its form of communist dictatorship to its form of government to basically every country around the world. I think that China wants each and every country in this world to become a communist one-party dictatorship like China, and China would be at the center of the world, ruling over the world as if it is some communist paradise. So basically, I think that is the end goal of China. Again, I'm not an expert, but the way China is behaving as a country with almost all of its neighbors, with almost all the democratic countries around the world, it just shows that China is not the kind of country that you can negotiate with all the time. I'm not saying that you should go to war with China. I mean, of course, going to war with a nuclear armed nation is not the most sensible thing to do. It would cause a nuclear apocalypse. But all I'm saying is that sometimes tough measures have to be made. At the end of the day, when a country like China behaves the way it behaves, countries are going to tolerate that nonsense up to a certain point. After a point, there will come a tipping point where other countries will say, okay, if the Chinese administration does not want a peaceful or does not want a sensible resolution to any issues that are out there, we are also going to respond in a tough manner. And that's how the Indian government decided to respond, and that's how I think I would urge all the governments around the world, including the US government, including the democratic countries in Europe, including the democratic countries in Africa that have also been victims of unfair trade practices, that China generally indulges in. So I think that at the end of the day, the Chinese administration needs to learn a lesson, because they are not going to reform themselves. There is no criticism inside of China. It is a one-party dictatorship. So certain measures have to be taken by countries around the world. For starters, banning Chinese apps is a great thing. I would say if governments around the world do not decrease or do not ban and put restrictions on Chinese products and services, I would say people around the world living in democratic countries should band together and say, you know what, we are going to boycott Chinese products and services altogether. We are not going to use Chinese apps. We are not going to use Chinese smartphones. We are more grateful to live. We should feel grateful that we are living in a democratic country. If you are one of those people who is living in a democratic country, in a liberal democracy where there is freedom of the press, where there are elections happening routinely after 4 or 5 years. If you are living in a country, you should be grateful that you are living in that kind of country, and that is obviously better than what communist China has. So yeah, that's why I would say stop using Chinese apps and smartphones. It's just as simple as that. Decrease your reliance on communist China. I might talk about this more. I might talk more about this in the next video. Until then, please consider liking this video. Please consider sharing this video. Please consider subscribing to my channel. That would help me a lot. Yeah, until the next video, stay safe. Goodbye, and God bless you.